On this episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast, we continue our series on local lesser-known bands. We start with the Massachusetts deathcore band Nailed Shut. Then we talk about the Salt Lake City hardcore band xSewn Shutx. And then we move to the Houston metalcore band willtolive. These are awesome bands. It was a great time listening to them. So thanks for checking this out, and let's open this pit up.
Somebody hit somebody!
Welcome to this week's episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast with me, Trevor, and we have Kyle and Josh. And dude, Kyle, you were at a show the other night. How was that?
I went to the Neck Deep show with Drain, Bearings, and Higher Power. And it was sick, dude. Like a huge turnout, like way bigger than I thought was going to show up. And overall, like not a lot of complaints. I don't think Bearings is like my favorite band, you know? I mean, I made the comment about not eating a triple from In-N-Out animal style before a concert, and I unloaded that stuff during Bearings, so, you know. I don't feel like I missed much on it, but yeah, dude, Higher Power, freaking awesome. Drain gets out, and he's like, I want everyone to know that there are no rules during our set. He's all, and you know, telling people to go crazy and stuff. And yeah, it was cool. Like I was a little nervous at the beginning that we've done this enough to know that there's like almost always drama on bills like that. But no, dude, it was chill. Like kids that wanted to mosh, like were in the pit, and those that didn't were not in the pit. So it was sick.
So we posted a couple videos. There was the one of Drain where they first started out, and like you can see you swinging through, and maybe like two other kids swinging through. But there was a lot of push pitting. Did it kind of change as the night went on a little bit?
I know it kind of looked like that, but kids were trying to dance. It just was a little crowded until me and this other big dude just kind of bull rushed everyone out of there, and then it like opened up for people to properly swing. So
nice. I gotcha. And you said that it was like the Bearings kids, because Bearings played right before Drain, right?
Yeah.
And they kind of cleared to the back, and the Drain kids kind of went in.
So, like, no one really moshed for Higher Power because I don't know that people knew what to do with that band. I don't know if you guys have listened to them. It's like grunge on steroids, kind of, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's really good, and I would have moshed for them, but I ended up showing up a little late and stuff, and then my stomach was jacked up, but until I, blasted my colon. But for Bearings, no one was doing anything. Everyone was just standing around. There wasn't even like a push pit or a circle pit for Bearings. Like everyone was just standing there. But there were a bunch of kids with that, the stupid like umbrella, like fabric thing that you used to play with in gym where you'd like make the big bubble and then like hide inside of it.
Yeah.
There were kids with that in like the middle of the crowd, like just waving it up and down. They weren't even doing anything. They were just waving it up and down. I'm like, guys, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Have you guys ever seen the video though of the giant one of those, and they throw it up, and they're in like this big open lawn area, and it goes down.
They hotbox it.
And the cop walks over and lifts it up, and they scatter like rats just everywhere. It is one of the greatest videos ever.
They weren't even doing that, because at least that I would have been like, okay, that's kind of funny. They were literally just like waving this thing up and down. I'm like, you paid money to do that?
It just sounds like a bunch of college kids had nothing to do one night and went to a show.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I mean, they cleared out real quick when Drain started. So.
Oh, I'm sure.
But then, like, I think Drain, the band is just infectious with their energy, like because everyone was going crazy during Neck Deep, but I don't know that they would have if it wasn't for Drain popping off like they did.
Drain like doesn't project at one crowd. They want everybody involved. Yeah. Like, I don't care. You've never done this before. Get up here. Party.
And that's what he said too. He's like, I don't care if this is your first time. Because he asked, he's like, who here's been to like a hardcore show? And like me and like 5 other dudes raised our heads. And like, he's all, everyone else, like, just do something. Hit somebody. Like, we don't care. Just do something. And so like, that was cool. And I think, that's a good time for some of those people to start like experiencing it a little bit.
Yeah, they're definitely a good definition of like skateboarding like punk hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just fast, aggressive, and tons of energy,
Yep.
How was the Neck Deep set? Was it some of their more poppy music, or did they lean a little bit into the more punk side? Like what, or was it a blend of
Yeah,
kind of all of it?
it was a blend of kind of all of it. So they were, I guess, everyone on the bill was sick. And what's funny is the Neck Deep singer was like, F Waffle House, and everyone started booing him. Because you can't, I mean, it's Waffle House, dude. That's a freaking like national treasure. And then he's like, okay, I apologize. This specific Waffle House, I guess, screwed like the whole tour up, and everyone was like food poisoning, vomiting.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, like, mad respect to Neck Deep because they still killed it. Like, even though you could, a couple times the guy quit singing because he was like dry heaving on stage. And so like he wasn't just like faking it. Like you could see him up there like starting to like he's like holding his stomach, like trying to not throw up, but he still put on like an incredible show. So like I gained a ton of respect for them. Because we've done this podcast on them, I knew their songs that they played.
That's right.
It was a pretty good mix of all their stuff. They didn't play anything off of Rain in July, that album, which I was kind of bummed about.
I thought I saw a clip that they did. Didn't they play one song off? Didn't they play
I might be getting the
what is the song?
Is that Wishful Thinking? Is that the album name?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was wrong. They did play one song off that.
Losing Teeth.
Yep, they played Losing Teeth.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I thought I saw a clip with just that one song. So, well, sick. What else have you guys been listening to this week? As Josh pulls out his phone to scan through it.
Well, let me give you. So last week I was sick on Wednesday, right? Thought I was going to die.
Yeah, you were like deathbed.
The NyQuil hit about 20 minutes into the last pod, and I was pretty much floating on air the rest of the time, so I don't really remember much of the last pod. But
it was a good episode.
But anyway, I went to work Thursday morning, and I dropped my phone, busted my phone. And then, so I've got a new phone, and my algorithm all changed and everything. So as far as trying to find things to listen to, it's all gone. So, but I did get a new phone, so that's upside. I don't know. Let me look.
So I've pretty much just been listening to Finch.
Oh, interesting.
Finch?
Okay.
And, my son started lacrosse, and I was driving him out to practice, and I was listening to it, and he was like, "Dad, who's this band?" I was like, this is one of the greatest albums you will ever listen to." And I've like listened to that because it's on my playlist. You know, I'm a playlist guy. I got 400 billion songs on a playlist, so it pops up occasionally. But this is the first time in a while that I've like listened to What It Is to Burn front to back. And no lie, dude, I knew every freaking word to that entire album. It's like ingrained in my DNA. That's how freaking good that album is. And I'm like driving my kid to practice, thinking about me driving to lacrosse practice back in the day, screaming What It Is to Burn in my car. And I was like, this is emotional, man.
Yeah.
So
I checked out the new Alkaline Trio, and needless to say, they still suck.
I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm
good.
sure I'm going to disagree with you.
At least
I
consistent.
mean, obviously,
it's terrible.
I'm dressed for it, right? The emo kid look right now. So
like mascara and stuff. You know?
It's just in another room.
I've been listening to this band called Abstain. I don't know if you guys have ever checked them out. And then I've been listening to the Tarzan soundtrack. Phil Collins.
Dude, Phil Collins, man. Like, my favorite quote about that is Phil Collins did not have to go as hard as he did on that soundtrack for us.
Yeah, seriously. I actually feel like him doing the Tarzan soundtrack, and then years ago back in the 90s, Elton John doing the Lion King soundtrack. Both of those are just like, wow.
Yeah. They don't do it the same. Because like I've had this debate with my wife a whole bunch that like the original Mermaid is like miles. It's like a whole galaxy away from the live action one musically.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the live actions have like stacked up, right? But I do think some of the animated shows have. Like Encanto actually has a great soundtrack. You know what I mean?
I think the live action.
I thought Moana was good too.
Did you see Elemental? That one was really good.
Elemental,
yeah, I've seen Elemental. I thought the live action Beauty and the Beast was still good.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
It's fine, but like I prefer the original cartoon, right? Like if you're going to like album to album, I'd probably put on the original cartoon version. Maybe that's just because of how much I've watched it with my
Well,
kids.
I'm like half and half because I feel like if you haven't gone back and watched the original one in today and you just remember it as a kid, that's probably true. But at least from my end, like sometimes 50%, I'm like, nah, it's like the problem I have with the Power Rangers. I'm like, yeah, the new one's good, but doesn't touch the old one. I went back and tried to watch the old one. I was like, this is terrible.
which
Wow. I
absolutely
ate my own
incorrect.
words. No, watch it. I couldn't make it through like the first 10 minutes.
Well, the thing, so I'm specifically talking about though the music on these movies because I get it. Like going back and watching the Little Mermaid animation is a little difficult, because animation. I mean, you watching Kanto, that part where the house falls down and like she's got like the ash on her face and stuff, and I'm looking at that, and I'm like, that like looks freaking real. But then you go watch Beauty and the Beast or whatever from like 1994 and you're like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. But musically, they were so much better.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think Emma Watson was a good singer.
I say,
auto-tuned.
I say to me, I think they're about the same. I didn't really have the preference. Yeah, musically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah. I don't know. I lean more towards the cartoon. I didn't think it was bad. I thought, and I take so much crap for this, I thought the live action Aladdin soundtrack was bad. I did not like the live action Aladdin soundtrack.
I think when I watched Aladdin, I wasn't really paying attention to the musical part. What?
Will Smith's part was really good.
Yeah.
He made that movie. So
as far as Aladdin went, I didn't really pay attention to like the musical part. I just liked the storyline. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're just thinking you were thinking about Jasmine / Pink Ranger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Green Ranger, he's dope too. Rest in peace.
The Green Ranger's dope.
What was his name? Tommy something?
Tommy.
Or maybe Tommy was the character. That's not his real name.
Yeah, I don't know his real name, but yeah, the character is Tommy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, only here are you going to get Disney.
Look, you've said it before. This is top tier content, so
So exactly. And on this week's episode, we're doing more local bands, right? So these are the smaller bands, but we're going from Disney to described as a psychological horror hardcore band at some point, right? So we're kind of all over the place because I wanted to talk to you guys about the Furnace Fest announcement. Oh, yeah. Evergreen Terrace. What were the four?
Snapcase, dude.
Snapcase, Evergreen Terrace, Sky Came Falling, and
Unearth.
Do you guys seen any of those bands?
I've seen Evergreen Terrace.
Yeah, saw Evergreen Terrace. I haven't seen any of the other three. Sky Came Falling was gone before we even really started listening to this kind of music, right? Like they're back East band. Well,
yeah. They weren't touring, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like there wasn't a chance for us to see them. I don't think they played Utah during like the main time we would have been like going to shows and stuff. Maybe they've rolled through on like one show here or there kind of thing, but
they usually just kind of stick back east. A lot of those bands do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm still putting money on Misery Signals being there. I'm saying Comeback Kid's going to end up on that. Like it's going to be interesting, but it's lining up for a pretty metalcore style show.
There is a band that just posted a little teaser. I don't know if you remember them, called Elijah.
I saw you post that. Yeah.
Yep. And so I looked at their page and it just said like disbanded in like 2008, 2009. And then they just said news soon ? So everyone's like, are you going to tour? Are you going to play a show? What are you doing? Cause they're from Sacramento.
I hope a band like that is just like, just kidding. And like just middle finger emojis.
Yeah.
Like
dude, that band was so good.
How do you spell it? Because it's spelled weird, right?
Elysia. Okay. I got to see them once, and they were so good.
Who did you see them with?
I want to say they came with Sky Eats Airplane. Also, another great band.
In Ogden?
Yes, at Boomba.
Yep, I think I was at that.
Yeah, because I think
we went and ate hot dogs or hamburgers or something with them.
Yeah, I remember Sky Eats Airplane played, and that was with the first lineup of those guys, and they were like way crazier on the EP.
The best thing to come out of Sky Eats Airplane was Glass Cloud. You ever
Yeah.
listen to them?
Glass Cloud was solid.
They were insane. Yeah.
Glass Cloud was solid. So, well, should we jump into it then? The band that I picked this week is a deathcore band back from Boston, Mass. Like I said earlier, they have been labeled as a psychological horror hardcore band called Nailed Shut. So, Kyle, I think you were the one who sent these guys to me as we were kind of flipping through like some of the bands that have been following us and interested in trying to find out more about them. And so these guys started, I want to say it was like 2021. Again, another band coming out of COVID time, right? And these guys are like current modern deathcore. So, like, do you guys listen to much like modern deathcore stuff,
No, I don't.
Josh?
Mm-mm.
So, the band that like the first thing that came to my mind when I was like looking at these guys was like the new Impending Doom EP. That 3-song EP that dropped
Mm-hmm.
felt very reminiscent of that. There's a band who recently moved to Salt Lake, made Salt Lake their home base, called Extortionist.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar in those veins. Like modern deathcore. So like it's kind of weird. They don't blast beat. They have one song where they like blast beat, and like forever with like old 2005, 2006 through 8 deathcore, it was all about the blast beat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like that heavy low chug and stuff like that. And it started to like adjust and change and things. So I'm currently I like deathcore. I'm a big fan of deathcore. So these guys actually did resonate with me pretty well, and they do a few things a little bit different, a little bit more unique that I think made them stand apart. But did you guys have a chance to listen to these guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to that one. There was 7 songs. So that's all they had.
Yes. Yep. Just the one EP, I think, is what or maybe they call it an album. But it's called Lust in the End, and got like a chick contortionist looking thing on the front cover.
Yeah.
Uh,
Possessed.
yeah,
Around, floating in the air, kind of.
exactly. But I mean, what do you guys think?
I'll let you go, Kyle.
So when I find a lot of what I do on social media is just look for bands like this, right? Because I'm not from Massachusetts. I'd never hear from them. Obviously, I think bands nowadays are getting better at like marketing themselves when they are doing ads on Instagram or doing their social media and stuff. But like I'll listen to the first like 10 seconds of a song on their social media. And if it catches me that it's like, okay, this is good, like then I'll follow them or whatever. And then we'll talk about them later and stuff. But I remember listening and coming across these guys and then listening to the first couple seconds. I was like, well, this isn't really my music, but like they're good. Like it's unique enough. Like you get into deathcore and a lot of times it's just that like really low guttural growl.
Mm-hmm.
These guys don't do it very much. He's got a very like mid-range, what do you call
Even
it?
an upper mid range,
Even upper too, but not like knocked loose style.
right?
It's like not that high, and so I was like, okay, like that's pretty unique. That's pretty cool. And like you said, that it wasn't just like a deathcore where it's like blast beat, like Frozen Soul type or Cruelty, or what was that band that just came through?
Cruelty just came through.
Cruelty. Okay, yeah. Where it's just like that really low stuff, blast beat, and then insane breakdown. Like I don't know, it felt like there was more musicalness to this band in their album than a lot of the other deathcore that is out now. So,
Any thoughts on it, Josh?
So I think it sounds good. But it also,
in terms of like a production value or like what?
Like, yeah, I think as far as quality of the songs, they sound good. But it also to me sounds like it was, I don't know how to say it. Like it was all created in the studio. To me, like deathcore, it sounds good, but it's just not exciting enough. Like none of it really wanted me to like, I don't know, like get amped up for it. You know what I mean? Like when I listen to old deathcore, like we were talking about that old band Elijah. Yeah. That's a deathcore band. Like to me, I'm like, dude, all that whole song, like I'm pumped the whole time. But I do like the range of the vocals. I think I looked them on my Instagram and I didn't like pay attention too close. Maybe they're just kind of a younger, newer band.
Yeah.
They're kind of just starting to kind of pave their way. So I wouldn't doubt if like the next record that they come out with, if they come out with one, is a little more mature than this one. I think that's probably the best way to say it to me. It's a good introduction record to what they're going to sound like, but it still has a lot of immaturity that I think they're still trying to figure out. But overall, like I thought the record sounded good.
Sure. And I agree with everything you said there. And let me throw this out to you because Kyle, you touched on this in terms of the vocals. So that upper kind of mid range, it's more of a hardcore style, right? It's not the high distortion vocals. It's a more clear hardcore style vocal. This is a very weird comparison. Okay. But listening to him, the first vocalist that came to mind was the original Memphis Mayfire screamer.
I can hear that.
Can you hear that?
I can
Yep.
hear that.
And so when I actually thought about that, like I listened to this album actually a ton. I probably listened to this album probably 10 times through front to back. So I actually really, in the end, I really liked this album. I thought it was unique. It was different. And then, Josh, you were talking about their live performance. They actually recorded a live performance a few months ago. So I watched their set. And what's interesting is when you listen on the album, this style of deathcore, like you said, it doesn't really get me excited. It doesn't really amp me up. In the live setting, his name's Asher, their vocalist. He switches his vocal styles to almost the high impending doom deathcore style that you would expect from deathcore, and it amps up the energy level. It was like super interesting to like have listened to the album so much, and it's more of just kind of like I don't want to say you're like chilling to deathcore, right? You don't chill to deathcore, right? But that it was almost like, just driving around listening to it. In the live setting, their energy, the vocal change, all of that kind of stuff, they put on a great performance.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool.
I was going to add on to that because I saw a few clips of I think they played this last weekend, and it was in like a venue that had like a lowered roof, and he was like climbing up like on the roof upside down screaming, and I'm like, that's insane. Like that's the energy that we grew up with going to shows where people were climbing rafters and crap, and that's what like the scene I feel like is starting to ramp back up with crap like that. And so I was like, to see a young band, and again, like it's music that I don't really resonate with right now, but holy cow, I can appreciate like what they're trying to do. Cause like Josh said, they're new, they're young, like they're going to learn, they're going to get a hold of it and a good feel for it. But they're doing the things that like you can't really teach a band to do, like how to work the crowd, how to be high energy, how to like be in people's faces while you're playing to make it feel real. And that's a really cool thing to have as a young band out there playing, right? Especially coming from Massachusetts, like what a legacy to do that in too,
I think it's cool that they've got, like you guys are saying about their live shows, they've got the energy. We lost Kyle. Or no, we got Kyle. We lost Trevor.
I mean, we lost Trevor.
Oh, well, I'll just keep talking. I think it's cool that like they have the energy live. Like that's really cool because that's like something that's hard to find in a band live. I just wish there was more energy in the actual music, like actual like build-ups and like more aggression. Yeah, because it kind of just seems like the music is just kind of like a slow wave almost. They have some kind of breakdowns, but there's nothing building up to the breakdown.
Right.
I almost kind of like the fast to slow transitions and just kind of like in your face. But if they've already have the live stuff, and if you put that music into it, then you're like, you hear that music, and then you see them live, and you're like, yeah, this is game over.
Yeah. No, I totally feel that. I thought the way that you put it is like a slow wave is literally the perfect way to like describe that. It's almost like it's got more nu metal type influence than it does like from the hardcore
to me,
side.
it like, yeah, when I was listening to it, I was just kind of like doing this, but I couldn't like
you guys there?
get into it. Yeah. I couldn't like get into it like that. It was just kind of like this, and I was just like, it's good. It sounds really good. I'm like, I need something like that's a little more aggressive. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they're like, we've talked about this before, but they're like the perfect example of the difference between like, oh, he's gone again. They're like the perfect example of the difference between being aggressive and being dark. Because like it's dark
Right.
sounding music, but it doesn't really translate to aggressiveness yet. And
Right.
I think they'll figure that out. And I don't know, maybe this is maybe us three, this is an old man yelling at the sun take that we're just like, it's not fast enough. And maybe
Do
that's just
better.
what I know, but maybe that's just what the scene is coming out with. And I mean, whatever. But for like a young local band and that style of music, like
I think I'm
super
back.
bright future because I mean they sound good, and now it's just figuring out like, okay, what do we really want to do? Do we want to go new metal or do we want to go in your face, speed it up, and then move into those heavy breakdowns that they can do? So I don't know.
Just
Like,
copy Sing a Suzabog.
I think I'm
Yeah.
back.
See, but I think they're too fast sometimes. Like I don't like some of the just like straight.
You know what I really like? You know what I really like about that band? That they're just like being very well accepted and recepted well in the hardcore scene. That's what I think is cool about them.
You're talking about Bog right now?
Them in like 200 stab wounds, right?
Or 10 to the chest.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really heavy bands right now who are really breaking into the hardcore scene. So
Even Dying Fetus just played FYA, and that was a wild set to watch.
yeah,
So that kind of, like you say, deathcore, death metal stuff is kind of making its way through. So
Yeah, and I wonder though if they're gonna if Nailed Shut will jump on that, or because Trevor, you dropped off because you're still using dial up. But
that's right.
I wonder if a lot of because Josh was saying that their music felt like a slow wave. It wasn't like fast to a slow transition, which for us gets us really pumped, right? Because when you have that like tempo change, the breakdown hits a lot harder. But they don't really do that.
That's
So
what
I don't
old
know.
deathcore was. So
Was I feel like old deathcore was still had super fast parts to it.
oh yeah, like
you just
Cannibal
said,
Corpse.
fast to slow.
Yeah, but they don't do that.
Right.
Nailed Shut doesn't do that.
Exactly. So old deathcore does that. Modern deathcore is more in line with what these guys are doing. One thing,
damn new metal, dude.
Yeah. One thing I was going to mention before I fell off stupid internet, dial up AT&T.
You live in Kaysville, man. You should have like the best internet there is.
I freaking wish, man.
It's because he's streaming his feet OnlyFans at the same time.
I live in Roy. I'm like like I could walk to the lake from here.
Yeah. One thing I was going to mention is where you were saying that you feel like they need to mature their sound. I think part of that is because of the different members' backgrounds. So they did a interview with, there's a website called like, I don't know how to pronounce this, Idiotech, IDIOTEQ, Idiotech. Yeah. And they were talking about how the drummer is a deathcore drummer. The bass player like is a metalcore inspired bassist. One of the guitarists is hardcore and emo. The other guitarist is deathcore. And then you have Asher Thomas, their vocalist, who is not quite a deathcore style vocal. So there's, in my opinion, there's a lot of styles going on, and they're going to settle into what works for them. And so I do think that they have a chance to be unique with all of their backgrounds and actually make something really cool out of this. So I'm actually pumped to see where it ends up. So
the only other thing I'll say about them is I can't do these bands that put like zoomed up eyeballs on stuff.
Yeah, it gets a little bit too much.
Like Drug Church does it. Who else did it? Was it Vane FM?
Probably.
Where the like dude's eyes like peeling back. I'm just like, no,
needles
dude.
in it.
I can't do that.
So the one song, I mean, go listen to it again. It's 7 songs. It's not long. It's actually 6. The first song is like a talking part. And so really you're listening to about 18 minutes worth of music. But Macabre really stood out for me, and Cerebellum is solid. And then Teeth is the only song that has the deathcore, like blast beat drumming in it. So if that's what you like, go check that out.
That was the one I liked the most,
Teeth?
I think. Yeah.
That's the one that I kind of strayed away from because it has a little bit of the Queen singing in it. And I don't like Queen singing in this style of music very much.
Yeah.
So anyways, that is Nailed Shut MA is how you have to search them. Nailed Shut MA for Nailed Shut Massachusetts. So album again was Lust in the End. So from shutting one way with nails to sewing something shut. Josh, you wanted to talk about a Utah band.
Yes. So it's a band called xSewn Shutx. Their Instagram is xSewn Shutx. They are a Salt Lake City straight edge band. I'll kind of give you a little bit of backstory about them. So they did start last year in 2023. I couldn't really give you a month. It was somewhere in the summer to the fall. So I know most of these dudes except for one. I'll start I'll talk about it a little bit. So Tracy, super cool dude. He actually grew up in Woods Cross.
Okay.
He's a bountiful kid. He used to work at this gas station below my parents' house. So I used to see him a lot in the mornings when I was like 20, 23, 24 years old.
Buying that coffee your mom got mad at you for?
Yeah, and she made me cut my hair. Yeah. Remember? Anyway, yeah, super cool dude. I've known him for quite a long time. He's played in a couple other bands too, and he plays drums as well. So he's like pretty well rounded as far as like music stuff goes. And then their vocalist Sean, I don't know him as well, but he's played in a lot of Salt Lake City bands, both vocals and guitar and bass. So just very well rounded. Their bass player, Nick, I don't know him as well, but we actually connected through like powerlifting and stuff. He's a pretty strong guy.
Nice.
And then my boy, Matthew Lloyd, he's the drummer for Crow Killer. He plays guitar in this band. And that dude, let me tell you what's crazy about that dude. Crow Killer did a set one time, and he's not vegan anymore, but for a long period of time he was vegan and he was straight edge. And however the lineup happened, he ended up playing in like 6 out of the 7 bands that night, in drums for 4 of them. And he's just like, yeah, cool, man, yeah, we'll just do it. And I'm like, you're wild, because I barely make it through one set.
Freaking real.
Insane.
Yeah, he's super cool dude. He's been involved in a lot of bands as well. He does a lot of his own recording as well, so he's very well rounded. So it's really cool to see these guys to get together and form xSewn Shutx. So these guys really remind me of, we were talking about modern day. They remind me of a modern day Shattered Realm. Have you ever listened to those guys?
A little
so
bit.
they're like I don't know if you call them like from what I remember, I think some of the members are from Philadelphia, but basically around that area. They're a back east band. But very, very much they remind me of them. They're just like a super heavy, straight in your face hardcore band. It's kind of like not beating around any bushes. Their vocalist Sean's hilarious. He's like, he got up for one show. If I remember right, he got up and he was on the vocals and he was like, "Everyone having a good time tonight?" And he's like, and they're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, that's about to change." So shut. And like a couple of friends of ours, they get pretty wild and they just grab you and just start chucking people. But they're really good live. They're really heavy. They got a really good response when they played that first show at that Ogden venue that opened up about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, what do you guys think about these guys? I'll start with you, Trevor.
Man, I really like this. I listened to them a little bit before you wanted to talk about them, just a couple songs, because you had mentioned you were going to their first show. So I think I listened to Immolation, I think is the first one I listened to when I first caught them. But again, this is another EP that I've listened to probably 6 or 7 times over the last few days. And it's just, Kyle threw out that they're a deathcore band. They're not a deathcore band, right? It's just the
Said they were closer to that.
You're wrong.
To me, this is heavy hardcore.
heavy
down.
hardcore. Yeah, but like it's not beat down in the same sense as Kublai Khan beat down. Like it's
or
even
Tsunami.
yeah, it's different, right? It's
So
like
it's deathcore.
it's not though. Like you can't put nailed shut, you can't put sewn shut in the same sentence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not deathcore. It's just a super heavy hardcore, right? It's a little bit slower, so you don't get the deathcore tendencies. And again, I really like it. I like his vocals on it. I like I think it's on the song Sewn Shut where it like cuts and then they like scream sewn and then cuts and then shut.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I like that stuff. That is like a calling card of like straight edge bands. And
Yep.
I love that stuff. Right. So I think that stuff's way fun. I'm catching these guys tomorrow. I'm actually super pumped to go to this show. So I'm big fan of it.
Yeah.
Josh, what's the symbol that they hit where it's like the little top part?
Oh,
It's like
the
bell
little,
sound one.
not the China. It's just called a bell.
It's just a bell.
Yeah, a
It's
bell.
like ding 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 ding.
Yep.
Dude, that stuff just makes me like it's the dumbest sound, but it makes me want to just fight people wherever
Right.
I'm at.
Right before Crow Killer went on tour, Matt actually bought a giant bell specifically for that, and all the bands were using it, and they kept this like, dude, I want to use it. Can I use it? And they put it on their set, and like Sanction
Nice.
used it, or not Bomb Car, Typecast, dude. It was so funny.
It's sick. Like you listen to the beginning of Reflection, and the whole time it's just like ding 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 ding, and
Yep.
I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fight someone right now.
Yeah.
But again, kind of like the same vein as Nailed Shut. Not really like my jam right now. I like faster stuff. That's just what I'm listening to. But these guys are slay. These guys slay. It's super heavy, but they do like Trevor said, there's like calling cards in hardcore, you know, and
Mhm.
they check all the boxes, but in a good way. It doesn't feel overdone. It doesn't feel, what's the word, like cheesy or corny or cliche.
Yeah.
Like it actually is sick. Like when
Yeah.
they do it, like the bell, like tons of these
Yep.
beatdown bands do the bell, and like, but some of them feel like they do it just because that's what you're supposed to do. But these guys do it, and it like actually fits, and it actually gets you pumped, and it actually does what it's supposed to do. So
It reminds me of like kind of that early to mid 2000s heavy hardcore. And so what's cool about it to me, and like it's something you have to like see live, and maybe it won't be as hyped now, but like I was standing with one of my buddies, and man, he hasn't been to a show in probably over 10 years. You know, he just came out to come check it out. You know, he's a really big dude or whatever, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm just here to hang out." And they started playing, and that dude, it's like this band is like prone to bring guys out of mosh retirement. We're like, holy cow, I have not heard a band like this in like 10 years. So I'm going for it.
You know, in Winter Soldier, where the guy has the book and he starts reading the words and it triggers the Winter Soldier to come into
Yep.
it. That's what the little bell is. All of a sudden they start tinging it and there's something in the brain that it flips. It's
you're just like, yeah,
Yep.
you're just like programmed. When you hear that, it's like freaking.
you're like,
undercover spy comes out.
Yeah, what I'm pumped on, and Jacob kind of touched on this in that episode you had with him and Mike in that Absolved episode.
Yeah.
Salt Lake right now, and like Sewn Shut's a perfect example, is literally just pumping out awesome bands, and it's because of friendships and very well rounded musicians that we have now. Because multiple of these bands now, they can play multiple instruments, they can record, they understand writing, they understand flow, and they understand like how to communicate and make things work. And like there was a rough patch for probably like 8-10 years where like you just didn't have that. You just had a bunch of like egotistical one person maniacs and then like a bunch of pawns with the rest, and it never turned out good. And so it's like after like COVID, like he was saying, he goes, dude, people have just been pumping out bands, and every single band is just not only like has good recordings, but just like you go see them live, you're like, it's actually really good.
Yeah.
Where was this when I was 18?
Yeah, I was gonna say that about these guys. Like we talk about how heavy they are, but like they riff, dude. Like some of their riffs, you're just like, oh, that's good. Like that is such a good, well-written guitar riff. And so
Yep.
it's not just heavy. Like you can tell that these guys are incredibly musically talented.
hmm
Yeah.
So.
And I also like that currently Salt Lake specifically, it feels like the bands know what the scene wants, right? Like, I don't feel like any of the local bands I've listened to or any of the local bands that I've seen recently are like so far astray where there's like 5 people in the crowd who are like there to see them. Like,
Mhm.
they are all very well rounded. And the thing is, they're not all the same. There's so much diversity, but the crowd loves all of them. Like it's really fun to see because it's just different versions of hardcore, different. You got fast, you got slow, you got more punk and like PCP who's coming up. There's a lot of these things that are happening, and it's just a good time. And I'm gonna say, suck it to Kyle for Salt Lake City hardcore right now. So.
That's
And
funny.
he's on mute. Like he just has nothing to say, so he's just gonna mute himself and just talk to
True.
himself.
I was crying and I don't want people to hear me cry. So.
They're also super goofballs too. I don't know if you like took a look at their EP they have, but it's on Amanda Hug and Kiss Records.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just do funny stuff. Yeah, so yeah, if you're into like Shattered Realm, probably like early 2000, mid 2000 hardcore, heavy hardcore, check them out. They're called Sewn Shut. It's just a self-titled EP. It's the one with the actual skeleton and the chain on it. It's pretty hard to miss.
Yeah. For some reason, like I do a grid maker or whatever, and it pulls up some other random image from a sewn shut thing. I don't know. So that's not the album. Look for the one that's the skull and chains.
Yep.
So
and they're actually playing tomorrow. That show you're talking about.
Yep. They have a few coming up. It looks like.
Yeah.
So. Well, dope. Yeah, I'm pumped for it. The show tomorrow is going to be fun. There's a lot of good local bands on this show, and so I'm excited to go and catch some of them.
My little brother's going, so hammer fist him in the head if you can. For me, say Kyle sends his love. Just throat punch him.
Hey, is he really going tomorrow?
Yeah, because it's a benefit show, right?
Yeah,
and
it is.
The girl that it's for. Was friends with my brother's girlfriend. So,
dude, she's got friends everywhere. You know how many times I've heard that in the last week? Oh, she was friends with my girlfriend's friend, and I'm like, huh, okay.
Yeah. But, hey, it's taking my little brother to a hardcore show, so I'm down with that.
Which, by the way, your little brother's not very little. Let's just throw that out there.
He's little in age.
Yeah,
I love my little brother. So
I just remember him just being this like overly annoying like puke kid.
Absolutely.
And just wanting to like strangle him 90% of the time, but he had some pretty good zingers and it would really piss me off.
What made me so mad is people would be like, dude, your little brother's so annoying, and then like a couple days later they'd be like, yeah man, your little brother's just like you. Really? So is he annoying or is he like me? Because I'm not annoying.
It's the Jeff Foxworthy thing. Here's your sign. So
Exactly. Yeah. They say he's just like me. That's a good thing because I'm a cool dude. So
well, on to the last band. Kyle, you have hold on. So these guys are not new, right? These are not a COVID band, but these guys are dope.
Okay, so I'm like, part of me thinks that I don't think catch hate. Because people shouldn't hate about us trying to help out. Not help out, but like talk about bands, right? The more, the merrier. But there's a real good chance that this band is actually massive, and we're just finding out about them ourselves now, which is why I want to talk about them, because that's a problem. All right, so the band that we're talking about is called Will to Live. They're from Houston, Texas. They started in 1998, and they've been around for a bit. I am so mad that the first I heard about this band was when I saw the Madball tour that came through Texas a couple weeks ago, and Will to Live was like opening for them. That was the first I'd ever heard of them. It's crazy to me because these guys are so freaking good. And actually, so they're, Houston, Texas, 1998. They're a true to the definition metalcore band, right?
Mm-hmm.
Earth Crisis follows them, which if you play a genre and are followed by somebody that invented that genre, you're probably pretty good at it.
Right.
So they've got 3 albums that are at least on streaming services. I think they have another that's on Bandcamp. I didn't actually get a chance to listen to that one, but the first album, 2006, that I listened to, called Tested and True, is just an old school metalcore album. It's just fast. It's in your face. It's heavy. The breakdowns are nasty. They've got incredible guitar solos, everything you could ask for. They got the next album, 2013, called Old Habits Die Hard. And this one leaned a little more into the metal side of metalcore. So when I first listened to it, it wasn't like my favorite, but the more I listen to it, and we'll talk more about these in a second. I just want to make sure everyone knows the albums. But and then the last album actually came out last year in 2023, called The Therapy Sessions. And this is one of the like greatest metalcore albums I've listened to in years. Like years. It is so freaking good. So Trevor, I know you listened to them. We've talked about them a little bit. What were your thoughts on them? We can talk about any album or just all of it.
Sure. Yeah, no, I absolutely love these guys. Like, I am a huge fan of these guys since you've brought them up. And again, it was the first time I've ever heard of these guys, which it's insane to think like they were this good and that it feels like a band that just kind of passed us by. I think some of that has to do with they never quite made it onto a big enough label. Because I do think that if you were really into the underground hardcore scene, which, let's be honest, when we were like 2005, 2006, we weren't really like the underground hardcore scene. We knew like the mainstay hardcore bands, right?
Yeah.
And I think that these guys probably toured with those bands, but they were probably typically the openers or second on the bill kind of thing. And it's such a shame because, again, that Tested and True album, so good. The other albums, they had a 2003 one called Reflection on the Human Character. And then they actually have an unreleased album that was supposed to be on Eulogy, I believe, called Weather the Storm. And you can catch those on Bandcamp. So Tested and True, though, super solid. I have to say, though, the Therapy Sessions 2023, this album is like, it's if I was just to put this in like 2023 settings, it's a top 3 album for me. Like, I freaking love this album. So,
yeah,
huge fan.
So, it's funny you brought up some of their tours. Like back in 2013, they opened for H2O, Terror, and Backtrack down in Houston. Like, you don't just open for bands like that if you're not ridiculously good and well known. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, it's kind of funny because we talk about all these young bands that like nobody knows about, but these guys are not a young band and they're probably pretty well known, but this is what's funny about hardcore. I don't know if funny is the right word. This is like this is the double-edged sword of hardcore music, because these guys are probably staples. I'm new to Texas, but these guys are probably staples to Texas hardcore, which is awesome. It is incredible that a band like that's this good could like be like a local band for Houston. You know what I mean? Like, that just shows you the talent that's there, what the scene was like, and that's awesome. But it also kind of sucks because they deserve to get huge because they are that good. Right? Mm-hmm. And maybe they didn't want to. Maybe this is like the path they wanted to take, and it was cool. You open for giant bands when they come to Houston, and you're good with it. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is, but it's just me being selfish. It sucks that like I have to wait till 2024 to find this band and enjoy this music because it is top tier. So
yeah.
Josh, what did you think about them?
So I was telling you before, I have heard these guys. Like,
do you
now
remember
that I see
where?
I probably just in somebody's iPod or saw them on a flyer. So I'm on their Instagram. I was looking through old flyers. So they actually even have a bigger show than the one that you were talking about. They played with Hatebreed, One King Down, and No Innocent Victim.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Which is, pretty big. They've also played This Is Hardcore.
I watched that set. It was a pretty cool set.
So they've played a couple shows with H2O. So I think it's really good. I will say it. So the album that came out in 2006, at that time, it's good. To me, like, you had bands like Buried Alive, you had Terror, you did have Hatebreed, you had Too Pure to Die, you had Death Before Dishonor, all bands that were kind of doing the same thing. And the difference probably was this band was in Texas, and all those bands were all
Northeast.
back east, you know.
Yeah.
It's really good, but that's kind of where it fell in for me. Like, I could listen to it, and I was really good. But I also probably would listen to it, and you'd be like, do you know who this band is? And I'd be like, Terror? Like, and it's not bad. I just, it had been done. And maybe that's what they did. But the 2023 album is also really, really good. But it's also interesting that they would go from, well, at least what's on Spotify, or not Spotify, Apple Music, go from an album from 2006, jump all the way to 2013 or 2023. I don't know if there's anything in between.
Yeah, Apple's missing the Old Habits Die Hard.
Okay.
It's actually why I switched to Spotify. Literally, these guys made me switch streaming services.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Because I wanted to listen to Old Habits Die Hard.
So I want to touch on what you just said, Josh, because I agree with you. This is generic 2006 hardcore, right? That being said, I am as disappointed as I am. I didn't catch these guys earlier on. I'm actually very happy that I'm catching them now because I'm listening to them with fresh ears. I'm not listening to a ton of Terror, a ton of Hatebreed today. So when I listen to this, like, it's fun for me. It is that throwback feel. It's really good. They have kind of like what you would expect in terms of like the what would you call this, positive affirmations for yourself kind of thing, and like true hero, tested and true kind of thing, chiseled in the sand. Like it's just like it's like that positive mentality hardcore, and it's dope. In today's music, with where I'm at currently, I am absolutely pumped on this.
Yeah. So Old Habits Die Hard. Josh, I don't think you were able to listen to this one. But Trevor, what'd you think of this album?
This one's down on my list. Like, so I listened to all 5 albums. And this one lays in more to the thrashy side of metal kind of thing. Like, you listen to Tested and True, and then you listen to the therapy sessions, and this album gets lost, in my opinion. So they played This Is Hardcore 2012. Am I saying that correct? Did you look at that date, Josh?
I think it was either 2012 or 2013.
Okay. So this album either had just come out or was about to come out, and they played a couple of songs off of it, and the songs didn't fit in the set as well. Like, it
is thrashier for sure.
Yeah, it didn't fit in the set as well. I think it fits the band, but just like the set and the style. It's a good album. It's fine. You know what I mean? But I definitely leaned into Tested and True and the therapy sessions as my primary listens.
Same to me. I will say that, like, the more I listened to it, the more I liked it. The problem, though, and just like with the other bands, is I've got this love-hate relationship with metal right now. So it was a little harder for me to listen to. But the therapy sessions, though, getting into their last album, I have zero things like bad to say about it. It has given me hope that there's people out there that still know what true metalcore is, you know, because we've talked a bunch about it on like the metalcore subreddit and the Fit for a King stuff. Like this album is the true definition of metalcore. And what I like about it, and what I've had a hard time with some of the other stuff, is like, I don't know how else to explain it, but this album, like, it's so clear. Like, all the guitar tones are so clear. All the vocals are so clear. It doesn't feel like... Because, like, I was comparing it to, like, the new Mouth for War album. And, like, the Mouth for War album is really good, but that stuff and, like, End, it just feels like it's almost hard to, like, distinguish stuff in it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just
There's a few songs, like, that kind of genre that I could, like, listen to. Like, I have to pick it by song, but I can't listen to a whole record like that.
Yeah. It just sounds like all this, like, the same sound. Like you can't really distinguish
Too
things.
little,
But
too
like
much
listening
going
to
on.
yeah. But like the therapy sessions, like it's clear. Like every guitar tone, like you hear it, all the changes, all the tempo, like everything. It's clear, but it's fast and it's heavy. The vocals really hit it off for me. I really like this guy's scream because I feel like again with metalcore sometimes you get like too low where they're trying to be deathcore but they're not quite there yet. His scream is just straight in the middle. It's awesome and I think it fits really well for what they're doing. So
The one other thing that I thought was interesting, so I read about this album. They did an interview with regards to it. So all 8 songs are, and I'm curious if someone in the band is a therapist, but they're actual like therapy cases, more or less. Like they talk about like losing someone, breaking away from religion, just different aspects of like what you would talk to a therapist about is why it's called the therapy sessions. And they're people that they know and it's a very personal record in that sense. And that's what I feel like old hardcore is. It's a lot of like just personal connection. Like, and that's why a lot of people love hardcore, right? Is there's a lot of relatability to it.
Yeah.
You find the bands who you connect with. And this album to me is one of those things, right? Like not necessarily break away from religion or like losing of like a spouse or anything like that, right? But just like the emotion behind it. It's a very emotional album.
It matters.
And so like
it matters to them. Yeah, it matters to them and you can hear it.
So I mean, like I said,
yeah,
it's a fantastic album in my opinion.
The song Cold Embrace is about it says this track tells the story of an academically gifted person who endured mental abuse by their parents.
Yeah.
And like in the breakdown in this song, like he yells out like all I wanted to do was make you proud. And you're just like, dang, like you know, like it just like maybe I don't necessarily like feel that like personally, but like you can feel the emotion of what he's saying and it hits really hard and yeah, that's the draw of hardcore music, right? Is we're not singing about your 13th breakup. It's like a real, you know, this is a real issue, a real outlet, a real thing for people to gravitate to. And, you know,
and the band that I think that does this very well is No Bragging Rights.
Oh yeah.
I get the same like emotional feelings listening to No Bragging Rights as I did to Will to Live. Like that relatability aspect of things, you know? So, and let's be very clear, right? Like I haven't had a lot of trials, hardships in my life. Like I'm not here to be like my life has been overly difficult, right? But I do appreciate people's vulnerability. I appreciate the emotion behind it, and I appreciate like being able to sympathize and empathize with people as it relates in their music. So
I don't know. I think having like dial-up internet is a hardship.
It's true.
Listen, man, one hardship at a time, right? Like
he can only deal with so much. Josh, what did you think of? Did you listen to the therapy sessions much? What did you think about it?
That's the last album, right? 2023.
Yeah, the blue one.
I thought it was really good. It's always skeptical, like listening to like somebody who released an album from 2006 and then fast forwarding almost 20 years, right? Well, 17 years, something like that, to not really changing their way. They're pretty much just kind of doing the same thing. It's like I say, to me, it's just a generic record, but it's really good, and I'm into that kind of stuff. It's got like we were talking about, the first band, Nailed Shut, and like I was talking about, it's kind of like a slow wave. It's hard for me to get into. This is like got like those fast parts for you to kind of change the tempo and kind of want to get your adrenaline rushing. And they've still got some like breakdowns, but they've got like a good steady pace in the vocals too.
The breakdown, like in Cold Embrace, I feel like it's a perfect example because it's like fast, and then the breakdown's like dun, 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 and then it like pauses and goes quiet. It's like dun, dun, and it goes again, and I'm just like, oh yeah, oh yeah,
right.
That's it. Like that physical reaction. We haven't said that in a while. Physical reaction, dude, like, for sure.
Yeah,
so, like Resolute's got like a little bit of like a southern riff in the song. I don't know. It's it hit all the like nostalgia points. And I know that like Josh, you talked about not changing your sound and stuff, but like it's one of those things where it's like it's maybe not the, how does that quote go? Like it's not the metalcore band we wanted, but it's the one we needed or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you say it's generic, but in a world of like super overproduced generic metalcore, like this is the album that we need in metalcore. Like I'm going on freaking metalcore Reddit and posting this and being like, you guys want like a gold standard of metalcore? Here you go. Like there it is. You know, it's fast, it's aggressive, it's got good breakdowns, it's got some good like melodic choruses or whatever that you get in metalcore, but it's not overproduced, cheesy, and lame. So
I have to stay off Reddit.
yeah, it's good to stay off Reddit.
Like you've been kicked off and you're creating burner accounts now?
No. I just can't afford to lose another job.
Yeah.
That site's a freaking cesspool of garbage and filth. So
yeah.
But it's
Well,
well controllable. So
This is awesome.
I don't know that they've got. We chatted with them for a second. I know they've got a couple shows that are coming up in Houston and stuff. I'm hoping that they make another run up here in Dallas. I was bummed that I didn't make the Madball show that they played.
That would have been
open net. I just found out about it too late, and
Really?
so I wasn't able to go. But they come to Dallas, and I'm gonna go see them for sure. So
Sick. Well, yeah. So 3 bands to check out. Will to Live if you're, a big fan of like that metalcore, old hardcore sound. Xsewn Shutx, you got your heavier hardcore stuff. Also Salt Lake Straight Edge kind of thing. So if you're into that, and then nailedshutma, Massachusetts, deathcore, modern deathcore is the way I'll describe it, kind of thing. All 3 bands are worth a listen to, in my opinion. And again, I'll say it about Xsewn Shutx, I'll say it about nailedshutma. It's 15 minutes of your time. Just go listen to it. It's not hard, right? Even therapy sessions, if you just want to listen to one Will to Live album, is 15 minutes. You can listen to all 3 bands in under an hour, and it will be a fantastic hour for you. So,
I mean, even like Will to Live's only like an hour long to listen to it all.
Total,
I
yeah.
promise. If you guys are into this kind of music at all, take an hour and 30 minutes and listen to these 3 bands, because I feel like it's a good pulse of what the hardcore is right now, right?
Take Tylenol too, or ibuprofen.
Yeah.
You have a bad back.
So next week is the week that we get canceled because I'm gone and I'm leaving it to these 2. So we're gonna see what these guys come up with and what fires I might have to try to put out on social medias. So
I don't know, Josh. We're gonna have to. I don't know what we're gonna do. What are we gonna do? You just want to zoom in on our nipples the whole time?
Why don't we start with a list of things we shouldn't do, and we should do that.
Okay.
do you want you guys should make a list of all the things that I've gotten wrong so far?
Hey, that's a good idea. It could be an episode of just like reliving every.
Today we're going to talk about Trevor.
Today we're going to exclusively talk about Trevor behind his back.
And I'm going to secretly record my own and post it about you guys. So there we go. But
maybe that's what we'll do. We'll take clips from like all the episodes we've done and just have him like talk to us. We'll just edit it and make it seem funny.
Stephen Hawking style. Robot voice. Okay. Dope.
Talk about getting canceled.
And that's the end of us. So we'll catch you all next week. Peace.